Zappers?
Dropped in.
Hey, Mark. Just talk to us about the last couple of days and what's the feeling like? Is the tension building in the camp now with the game only 2 days away?
Yeah, it's good. I think now that we've arrived in Russia and we're able to, I guess, single in on the France game, I think the general feeling has probably been a little bit more relaxed. The last sort of 3.5 weeks has sometimes been borderline torture, but we knew we needed it in the way that we want to do things, in the way that we want to defend, in the way that we want to attack. We had to be at the peak of our powers, I guess, physically. So now that we've arrived and we've been able to sort of settle into what's going to be our home for the next couple of weeks, it does get a little bit easier. Obviously, still a couple of days out, so I think the tension will grow as we get a little bit closer. But at the moment, everybody's been good, very focused, and looking forward to it.
Garby?
Mark, you've played a lot of your football in central midfield. It seems like you're earmarked for a central defensive spot now at this World Cup. How does that sit with you?
Obviously it doesn't bother me. I'm firstly extremely happy to be a part of Bert's squad. Secondly, I think the fact that I've been able, that I was aware of it coming in, and that the last sort of 3 weeks I've been able to focus. It's been good. It's not always easy getting shifted around or not knowing where I was going to play, and it's obviously for me a different way of playing. I have to do things differently. I think I'm playing in midfield for a long time. I play different passes. I see things differently. So being able to focus and train in one position definitely makes it easier, and also being able to, I guess, fight for one position, sort of gives me a little bit more hope.
And the word out of France is that Dembele and Mbappe are set to start up front. Obviously, don't know that for sure, but it looks like they're going for the quick strike force. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't think it's just those two. They have quality and pace all over the place, and it's going to be a massive challenge. Obviously, not just for whatever back four takes the park, but the whole team. It's been a big focus of ours over the last few weeks, our defensive shape and the way that we do things. So, look, we're under no illusions. It's going to be a massive challenge, but it's one we're looking forward to.
Bash?
Mark, just further to that, if they start Giroud as opposed to what Daniel said about the quicker front three, how does that change your approach to the match? Can you give us some insight on some of the finer details of how you approach that different formation that France could put up in their front line?
Yeah, obviously there'll be slight, adjustments depending on who plays, but I think, the main focus defensively for us over the last 3 weeks is that the way that Bert wants us to play and to set up, it won't matter about the opposition. We're going to be very focused defensively on, our position and, I guess, shutting down any type of attack. And that's, a lot of the reason why we work so hard in the lead up in being so, in him wanting us to be so fit that, it doesn't matter whether they go with two, whether they go with pace or height. The way that we set up defensively, we should be able to combat, hopefully, whatever they start with.
John?
Mark, this is your fourth World Cup. Obviously in Germany you were one of the youngest in the team. Now you're a senior member. How I guess, do you think Australia's relationship with the World Cup has changed in that sort of 4 World Cup cycle, and your role as well, the evolution of that?
Well, to be honest, from the beginning, it probably hasn't changed that much for me. I've had to continuously, fight firstly to be here, and then fight to be in the team, and those first 2 were obviously difficult there weren't a great deal of young players getting chances in the early days, and it's obviously been a bit different over the last few years, and I think especially since Ange came in, I guess he changed the perception of the young boys. So look, for me it hasn't changed a great deal, and I think that's probably the reason I'm still here, the reason because I'm willing to fight and work hard and sort of take whatever comes.
Seb?
Mark, just in regards to what Bert has said to you, this change of position for you into central defence, did he explain how and why he saw that in you, and how did he communicate that to you, and how long has this sort of been in the works?
No, I've just been put into centre back when I first came in, and I've been training there ever since.
Mark, it's quite an inexperienced squad. You're obviously going to have to play an important role with your experience, and of course, Tim Cahill has huge experience. Could you talk to us a little bit about Tim's role, how he's helping off the pitch, and how he might help on the pitch as well?
Yeah, well, I think everybody knows obviously what Timmy's done on the pitch with his, not only for the Socceroos but in his club life as well. And you know, Timmy, and I said this a little bit earlier as well. In 2006, Timmy was probably the first boy to come and put his arm around me, and you know, he was only quite new to the team then as well, but to make me feel comfortable. And it's no different now. You know, he's the first one to grab one of the young boys or you know, a newcomer and make them feel at home. And I think that's very important in this team. The last sort of 4 years especially, we've worked extremely hard to create a culture within the team that makes everybody feel comfortable. When everybody's comfortable within the team, you tend to get their best performances on the pitch. And, you know, Timmy's definitely the leader in that. And I think for me, that's been the most important thing, you know, not just for me, but the players coming in over the years. As I say, everybody knows what he's done on the field and what he continues to do. But behind the scenes, you know, he's definitely a calming influence.
Kev.
Have you or any of the other members of the squad heard anything from Ange in the run-up to Saturday's game?
No, I haven't. I'm not sure about any of the other boys. Obviously, Miloš being with him at club level is probably your best bet.
Bash.
Mark, 50-odd minutes, I think, in against Chile. That's your World Cup exposure in 4 World Cups.
Chile, I played a full game.
Yeah, a full game in that one?
So, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Correction. Do you feel like you've got some unfinished World Cup business personally for you, given you've been around for so long in the national setup?
Yeah, not so much unfinished business. You know, Brazil was unfortunate. It was an injury that sort of kept me out of the last 2. Look, I don't really have that feeling. I'm honestly just the fact that I'm still here and still, pushing and helping. I feel extremely proud. I've been lucky enough to play 70-odd games for my country, and anything that happens now, whether it's a World Cup or a friendly match or anything, is honestly just a bonus. And I love being a part of this team, and whether I play or not this World Cup, I think it's going to be memorable for us all.
Mark, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I think wind the clocks back 11 months, you signed a 1-year marquee deal with Melbourne Victory. I remember you said that the World Cup was a big thing on your mind when you signed, and subsequently you left in January for Saudi Arabia. I mean, just pondering over the last 12 months, how big has that preparation been for you? And you're sort of looking at that Saudi Arabia move as a big decision and a good decision now.
Yeah, well, probably started, to be honest, at the end of the Confederations Cup. I was very, very disappointed when my move to England was, I guess, put to bed, and I felt like that was, it was an ending for me. I guess I was pushed very hard, and to get that opportunity, and when that fell through, I sort of didn't know what was going to be ahead of me. Obviously Melbourne threw me a little bit of a lifeline at that time because we waited a long time to see if the rankings would change and things like that. So, as I said, I was very appreciative to Kevin and to Melbourne in giving me that chance. But my goal when I left Victory after winning the title a few years back was to finish my career overseas, whether that be in Asia or England. So when the chance came up to go to Saudi, and it was a good deal both for myself and for the club, hence why they took the deal. And I think going over there in January and being able to play so many games, and I guess playing the Champions League as well with them and go through to the quarters was a good experience for me. And I really enjoyed it. But as I say, I'm very, very appreciative to Victory for what they did. But my, I guess, long-term goals at the end of the Confeds Cup last year was to finish up overseas.
Gabby.
Mark, having been to 4 World Cups, you've seen it all in terms of preparation for Australia. So taking all that knowledge into account, how well equipped is this team to achieve something at this World Cup?
Yeah, very good. I think it's been a good mix of hard work and the focus on the way that he wants us to play has been good. I think the boys really you really get the feeling, well, he has, he's done this before and he knows how to prepare a team, for the first game, and I think that's gone through the team. That confidence that he projects in, what he's doing, I think really rubs off on us and gives us a belief, and that's very, very important. I think that the belief has to be high leading into a game like this.
Last two questions, Zappers.
Mark, Antoine Griezmann was quoted as saying that he only knows one or two of the Socceroos, or two or three, and he says that the Socceroos won't be very tactical, they'll be physical. Do you see that as an insult? How do you respond to that?
I don't see it as an insult, but I think probably the last 4 or 5 games that we've walked out on the pitch, the opposition has towered over us. So, we can be physical, yes, when we need to be, but I think tactically we'll be very well equipped coming into the weekend.
James, last question.
Playing in Saudi Arabia and you're now in Russia, does it affect how you prepare as a player when you're in a country that doesn't have huge respect for things like rule of law or human rights? And do you have a tip for the first game tonight between Russia and Saudi Arabia?
No, look, we're very well looked after. It doesn't matter which country in the world we're playing. Our preparations and what we do are always exactly the same. I can only talk back to the Confederations Cup last year and how well organised it was, and all the feedback from fans. I actually ran into a fan after the Confederations Cup who, as far as I could tell, had the time of his life. So the preparations and things like that for us are always the same. And tonight, I'm going to go with Saudi.
Thanks, Mark. Excellent.